It's hard to tell the future, but I find that as I look forward to the final Mass in this church, it will be one of the greatest honors of my priesthood. I will stand at that altar for the last time, the heir of a long list of many good pastors who have loved Christ and His people in this place, and will try to participate most fully and be ready to be embraced deeply in all the memories and affections, all of the sadness of what is being lost, but all the hope of what is coming that will be expressed in that last Mass at St. Cecilia's Catholic Church.
This is where the fun begins. This is where you wanna be. Wisconsin Dells. The fun comes naturally.
Before I came here, I had no experience of this parish. My experience of the Dells was like any other tourist, and even maybe a limited experience. My family came to Noah's Ark, Pirates Cove, and always ate at the Mexicali Rose because that's what my dad liked, and so that's what I knew about the Dells. I kind of thought that previously the Dells was just sort of staffed by magical trolls who ran the water slides and that no one real actually lived there, but lo and behold, it's a community of very real, very beautiful people. I never thought I could love a place so much so fast. I have found a spirit of welcome and neighborliness and friendliness that is very unique. This, of course, is a unique community. In many ways, it's a small Wisconsin town, but it's a small Wisconsin town that has a multi-billion-dollar tourist industry right in the middle of it, and so that changes the dynamics in a significant but in a beautiful way. So in many ways, it's like any small Wisconsin town. People are very loyal to their community, to their family, to their parish, but they also have very big hearts and open arms to welcome in the many thousands and thousands of visitors that come every year.
1969 is when we first visit the Dells, and ever since then we just love the place. It's beautiful, and we came to St. Cecilia Church. We used to come here every time we come on vacation.
We never felt like we didn't belong from the first time that we came here, and it's just grown ever since. I've got lifelong friends I've met through the parish, and it's wonderful. It's just a great place to be.
It feels like home. Growing up here and sitting in the same pew at every Mass with my family, and now this family, it's just a special place. We have so many beautiful things in this church that remind me of growing up, and just feels like home.
It was my church for all my life. I loved St. Cecilia's. Even when we moved away, the church was always kind of our standard for how I judged the churches that we lived in, in the communities we lived. And no one ever really met the standard of St. Cecilia's.
St. Cecilia's has been a part of the Dells for over 112 years, and really the Catholic faith has been here even before the parish was formally established. In 1999, Monsignor Felix Orlein, then simply Father Felix, was assigned to St. Cecilia's in the Dells, and he found what had been going on for a long time was many years, over 2 decades, of Mass being held in 2 different locations, in the old church and in the school gymnasium across the way. And while this functioned perfectly well, it didn't put a friendly face on the parish. You'd have all these families who spent their time, spent their money to come have a pleasant week or weekend in the Dells. And while they were happy to worship God and attend Mass in that context, you were either packed into an old church or you were sitting on an aluminum chair in a gymnasium.
When they were having it, you could see the disappointment on their face when they'd walk up and they'd say, there's not enough room in the church, so we're having it this evening at the summer chapel. And they're like, what?
So Monsignor Felix had the idea that both out of charity, out of welcome, or desire to worship together, they would build an expanded new church and began that process. It was a large endeavor at which he worked very hard, but the road was tough going. In 2011, when he was on a brief vacation, he had a heart attack and he died. That, of course, shook the parish immensely, the spiritual loss of their pastor, and the driving force behind this building project.
Father Felix was such a personal priest. I mean, he would come up to you and talk to you, and I could see him if he saw someone come into church that he didn't know, he knew it was a visitor, he would always go up and greet them, smiling face. He was just a great priest.
Father Felix, Monsignor Felix, was a great inspiration, probably one of the first priests that we can remember who was very accepting of the children and getting involved with the children and making the children feel like church was something good. And, unfortunately, his passing took the wind out of a lot of people's sails. We were pretty devastated by that loss.
We thought we were gone. We thought that maybe this was going to be the end of it. But Father Mike came in and he breathed new life into this project.
He proposed the idea that was very wonderfully accepted to really build an expanded version of the current church. That church which people loved very, very much. And so the design of the church as you see it was really conceived by Father Mike Ritchell. Of course, he became very ill, contracted cancer, and became quite sick. He passed away at the end of the summer 2014. And that, of course, was a tremendous grief for this parish to lose their second pastor in the course of this project. Shortly before he passed, I was contacted by the bishop, who asked me to suspend my studies and come and take charge of the building project here at St. Cecilia's in Wisconsin Dells. I arrived in August of 2014. A few days later, Father Mike passed away. I was very moved by the manner of his death, inspired by his words and his actions, and even more beautifully inspired by the way that this parish rallied around the idea that they wanted their parish to be a bright light of the Catholic faith, both for everyone who lives here and to welcome everyone who visits.
I was kind of skeptical when my sister told me they were going to tear down the church. I'm like, what? Not my church, not our church. It's, good old church, not a nice modern one.
One of my first thoughts is my grandmother passed away a few years ago, but she was 102 and a half, and she went to Mass every morning, sat in the front altar, and she had mixed emotions with the church, but when Father Eric started his homily and said, some of us will have mixed emotions, but it's not a sad thing. And I think that was nice, and I think I thought of her right away, and she'd be happy with that.
I think it's exciting. I think it's sad, to see our church go. And Matthew was just on the way when he said, when is it being bulldozed? I'm very sad, but I said, it'll be similar to what it is. It'll just be bigger so we can fit everybody, because not all, in the summertime especially, we can't fit everybody in our church.
It'll be difficult, but then look into the future of what we have coming, then our kids, having their, sacraments in the new church. It'd be nice.
It's melancholy, it's kind of sad, but it's exciting to see that growth.
Are you planning to attend the final Mass in the church?
Definitely.
Oh, yes.
We are definitely going
We're gonna
to
be
attend
there.
the final Mass at St. Cecilia's. We're looking forward to that. Like I say, it's going to be a kind of a sad day, but it's going to be a kind of a happy day too. So.
It'll be pretty bittersweet to attend the final Mass in May. I mean, this is a church that I've been standing on the kneelers trying to be as tall as the kids next to me since I was little. So to come to this Mass and know it's the last one it's going to be difficult. But I think that what's right is right, and we need to move forward as a parish. And this is everything that you would want in a new building, they're doing.
I found it immensely moving to find this relic here in this church. As I talked with people, I discovered that they were not so familiar with this relic. Many parishioners, even longtime parishioners, were not immediately aware that they had a relic of their patron saint. I found this small reliquary, that's the formal name for it, that on the inside had the relic, S. Cecilia VM, which, because I've studied Latin for a while, I knew right away what it was, Saint Cecilia, Virgin and Martyr, a relic of the patroness of this parish, and indeed a first-class relic, meaning here we have an actual piece of our patron saint. This crucifix represents one of, if not the greatest treasures we have at St. Cecilia, and I believe was a true gift from heaven. About 2 weeks after I arrived, I went to examine the parish safe, which is what the new pastor is supposed to do. And the safe was frankly not usual. In the safe, I found a beautiful wooden box filled with cough drops, which I knew the previous pastor, Monsignor Felix, had cough drops with him wherever he went. So I knew this was his treasures. Behind that box of cough drops, I found a book, an autographed copy of Mike Ditka's autobiography, which was strange, but again, Monsignor Felix had been the chaplain to the Chicago Bears. And of course, the Chicagoans have a beautiful relationship to St. Cecilia's. Well, behind it, I found this worn red leather box. Well, when I open it, here's this beautiful crucifix, silver, gold with the wood inlay, the Stations of the Cross and decoration all around. But then I notice something in the middle. And so I pull it off and I see there are these two slivers. And inscribed I can see SSMA Crucis, DNJC, which again, fortunately, I've studied these things in a more detailed way, and I knew exactly what that meant. Sanctissima Crucis Domini Nostri Jesu Christi, the most holy cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. And you can see very clearly two slivers of what look to be wood. And so my heart started to beat very quickly. Could this be? As I investigated it further, I saw on the back there were two levers. And so I opened to see what might be found, and there it was, this parchment. Seems like an odd enough thing, but then I opened it. I find this old yellowed paper, written all in Latin, and again, because I can read Latin, I could tell exactly what it was. It was the official document from the Vatican in Rome, saying, in fact, this is a piece of the most holy cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. Dated, signed, has the official seal. And I knew it was true. We had in the possession of our parish a piece of the true cross, the cross on which our Lord Jesus Christ himself was crucified. How did it come to be here? I have absolutely no idea.
This was a fabulous farewell to our church. Father Eric is marvelous, and everybody there, I think, felt the emotions of leaving this beautiful, beautiful church.
It was in true St. Cecilia fashion. It was amazing.
It was an ending to one thing, but yet a beginning of a wonderful opportunity and new memories. Father Eric did a wonderful job of bringing us together to recognize past memories and new memories that we're going to create. I think it was done wonderfully, and I'm looking forward to what the future brings.
Today at the 8 o'clock Mass, Father Eric asked those who had been baptized in this parish to stand. 2 people stood. Then asked who has been confirmed. A few stood. Who had been married, a few more stood. And then, how many of you have had a loved one that you have buried here through the Mass of the Resurrection? And many stood then. It was more visitors. Now I am still left out at this situation because I didn't fit in any of those brackets. Then he said, for those who have made this their second home. And then I was counted.
Family. Coming home. We're seeing a lot of friends we haven't seen in a long time, so it's just great that everybody came together spiritually. It's wonderful.
I was very privileged to be singing in the choir. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and it just was beautiful. I had goosebumps.
The spirit was so strong. I feel that. That Saint Cecilia and the Holy Spirit were working through me, and it wasn't me. And as I was playing a postlude to the last song and everyone was processing out, I realized these are the last notes being played in this church, in this building. And I had to make them really good. It was beautiful.
Like me, was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
The past year has been surreal in the sense that hard work was done. I mean, I remember all the effort, I remember all the people, I remember all the experiences, but now that it's come to its conclusion, it's like that faded memory that you know is real, but somehow you can't quite get a grip on. This day was so momentous and was the fulfillment of so many things that I think it'll take some time to really figure out how the whole year fits in context. On May the 18th of 2015, we celebrated the last Mass in Old St. Cecilia's. And the next day we began this very beautiful project of taking out everything from the old church that we loved, our statues, our stations of the cross, our windows, our altars, so they could be taken away to be restored for the new church. Demolished the old building and began the project that is everything you have here today. All of our statues so beautifully restored. All of our stained glass windows so meticulously cleaned and put back together. All of the altars and shrines restored and expanded to fit this beautiful new building. The delicate care of handcrafted woodwork, the delicate skill of all of the hand-painted walls and images that you see, have created a building that is, in fact, everything that is the best about St. Cecilia Catholic Church as it was in 1902, expanded in charity, restored with skill and dedication. On August 28th, 2016, we dedicated this new church, and it became and has been this wonderful home for everyone who lives here, everyone who comes to worship here in spirit and in truth. They have a beautiful house of God in which to worship and pray. And they have all of the sort of modern amenities that make for great community life. Expressing their love for God at the Mass, expressing their devotion to Holy Mary and to the saints, and then finding time to have community with one another. It's been a tremendous, tremendous gift to the building of New St. Cecilia's.
I think when we were working on the design early on, and Father Eric looked at some of our designs, and he paused for a moment, and we didn't know what he was thinking, but we were again trying to honor the past and tried to interpret his ideas for the church. And he looked at it and paused, and he said, "Brilliant." So we thought at that point in time we were all on the same page and we were heading in the right direction.
And Father Eric was really good at that. He was able to just look at something and realize that I like this or I don't like this, and he had some really good suggestions for direction. a perfect priest to work with. He really contributed a lot, and I was just trying to, in some ways, interpret his vision, because he definitely had an idea of what he wanted. So he was actually really fun to work with that way.
Well, first of all, I never thought I would see this church. I really didn't. I thought that, in my lifetime anyway, because all I could imagine was Father Mike and Monsignor Felix just looking down and hoping that we did them proud. And I think we did. I know we did. They were just two special guys, and we miss them dearly.
Being here today, just seeing it all come together, and knowing there was nothing but a hole in the ground here, and you come here today, and it's full of people, and it's fulfilling its function. It's become a sacred space. That just makes you feel really good inside. It really does.
I'm not a sentimental person, I confess that. And in a sense, because I formally studied all these things, I approached them in such an intellectual way in the first place. But even though they first came to me in an intellectual way, they moved my heart very deeply. I'm just frankly someone whose heart doesn't get moved very deeply that often, and it just was a true joy in every sense of the word.
It was sending your daughter off to college. It's a big deal. Coming down here, we had no idea. Usually there's a time when we have the chance to sort of kick the tires, do a test run. There was no test run. This was hit the ground running and hope that things were going to work.
You know, I would tell friends and family how proud I am of it. I've come here summer trips with the family, come here for church, the old church, with my parents, and they're interested in what's going on here because they do come down to the Dells a lot to vacation and visit, and they always want to know, how's the church going? How's it going? So I think they'll be amazed when they step foot in here too, and I think anybody will be. It really is spectacular.
Everyone is moved by how beautiful it is. They are at a loss for words. I hear that phrase all the time, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I said, well, walk down the pew, you'll see it and believe it.
There's a lot of moments today. In the Mass, the Eucharist is definitely that moment. But second to that would be the sermon when the bishop talked about the church. And I don't usually take notes at Mass, but when he said that the word that he used about this church was amazement. And when he came in, he said, wow, that means we struck a chord. And when a bishop can say that after all the churches he goes in with, and when he uses the word amazement to define it, and then he also said it was a model for the house of God, that is, in my world, as good as it gets. That is the highest praise.
The future glory of this house is greater than the former. We did all this work over all these years, sacrificed a lot, lost 2 pastors in the midst of the whole thing, and countless families and loved ones who ached to see this new church and did not. We did all of that because we believe in the future of the Catholic faith. We have put a place here in the midst of all this, all the stuff, all the money, all the blinking lights, which we respect because it's why we have our community. We're not opposed to it. We planted right in the heart of it a place where the gospel message can be heard, a place where refuge, strengthening, uplifting from the world can be obtained. And not to be cheesy, we built a place that you can do all of that and have a nice donut after Mass and talk to your friend when it's minus 10 degrees outside in a perfectly nice place. Like, you can share Christian life, you can commune in Christian life in every possible way in this building. That's why we did it. I mean, yeah, we did it so you wouldn't have to sit on aluminum chairs, but whatever.
I can't thank Father Eric enough for what he has done. He brought energy, he brought decisiveness, he's brought so much enthusiasm to this parish that I hope he's here for quite a long time.
In one sense, I think any priest could do this. I feel like anyone who's got a life of prayer and knows the spiritual life of the church could come to this moment. And that's what I really want to share with people. Like, in one sense, everything that is special about this church is not special, if that makes sense. Everything that is special about this church is special and simultaneously is not special because it's imbued with the Spirit of God, because it is imbued with the tradition of the church. In one sense, you don't have to be a great genius to do any of this. You have to know, how to design, how to do architecture, you have to know all that kind of stuff. That's why in one sense, the hardest workers on this building were the hardest workers, the guy laying bricks and steel beams, all right. But that's not what people care about. People care about all this, and they should. And what's so amazing about all of this is it's the life of the church. What makes it special is that it's not special. Again, I think that's like any family. What makes your family special? It's like any other family. Mom, dad, kids, lots of those. That's not special. What makes it special is the beautiful ordinariness found therein. And lastly, to you good people of the Dells and Lake Delton, I am young and handsome. May I be here until I am old and crooked. I mean that. I'd lose weight, but I'd just be too devastatingly good looking. So here's to being here for many years, and here's to all of you. Thanks for all your work. Cheers. Let's ring the bells and toast to one another for this joyful night, and then enjoy a beautiful evening.